So welcome to the final compositing stage, where we will blend our match moved plate with our radar screen into the environment. We have a shot here that I created for a little horror episode, comedy horror episode of a web show that I did. So it is not facilitated for tracking, but it will actually work really well. And since that is a dashboard environment, the high glow, intensity, luminance radar overlay does not really fit there, so we may need to tweak it. So we go into color correction, we go into additive blending, and then changing it to an alpha over with additive blending. There's a lot going to happen. We will do certain refinements that we come back and we revisit certain things that we see, or usually that is the art director that has a request like, I want a background glow that has to be the same as your top LCD. Okay, we will facilitate that change. So let's start some final stage compositing. Okay, so we rendered out the frame of our radar screen. Let's quickly do it. There we go. We don't see it yet because we need to connect it to the viewer. I always start by throwing away all the clutter except for the movie clip with the undistort and the skill, because you get a lot for free from Blender that I don't really think is necessary in especially this situation. So we're going to import our render layer, set it to foreground, connect our viewer up and do a render for that element to get it in. Usually you render out your whole shot and then you do the composite, like we did in the previous example. That workflow is basically what you always use, but now we're just doing a little cheat. So we see we have this alpha layer around it. We don't need alpha. We want to do an additive comp. So we take an alpha over node, we put it in between, and we say layer black on top of it. So now we have our black and white, black and green comp. We copy this, and no, we do a shift add a mix RGB node, and we said we do an additive comp. So we'll take this, and it doesn't matter in which order the noodles are here, unlike there, because 1 plus 2 is 3, as well as 2 plus 3 is 3, and set it to add, and bam, there we go. And look at that, we have the dirt on that screen. Can I zoom in for you? Yeah, the dirt on the screen, the light, you get it for free in there. So that's why you use screen and add for screens. So that is really cool. Okay, but it's a bit too sharp. If we look at these letters and we see this, it's a tad too sharp. And there is a trick that you can actually, on a straight piece, count pixels. Usually when I do supervision, I hold up a checkerboard at the location where the CG elements need to be, and have the camera take just a couple of frames for that. And then we can count the pixels here. Can I get just one more bigger? 1, 2. That's 3 on the X, 3 on the X, and 3 on the Y. So we're going to add a blur. Let's give ourselves some. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to move this over. Why is it picking it up? I had a depressed. We're going to add a blur. And we counted 3 pixels in either direction. So boom, look at that, and instantly it is subtle, but it works. Muted, very sharp, boom, and it matches the map. Now we also want to match the color, because this is green and it's all nice and it will work in a car, but it will be nicer to make it orange. So we will add a hue and saturation, but since we're going to be meddling on this pathway, we need to take the alpha and put it in the vector, otherwise we would be affecting the whole image. So we add a hue saturation value and we dial this to orange. That is, well, that's pretty decent. That's close enough, yeah. And now we will do what we call an RGB color correction workflow, which basically means we're going to sample the R, the G and the B of this, and we match it as good as we can over there. So if you hold Alt and right click, you will see the values here. The CM, that's the comp. We see that the red is about 0.8, the green is about 0.5755, if I go, yeah. See, oh, let's go back, 0.55, and the blue is about 0.43, and the luminance, that is the L, is 0.6. I always start with setting the black and the luminance correctly, and I will prefer a color correction node for that. I put that in there, and we can see where the highlights is. We're basically here targeting the highlights. Or we could target this. Let's see what happens here. This is significantly different, 0.3, and then we blow out the highlights for sure. We can try. What I'm thinking about is, yeah, this is a highlight, so logically we would be matching this. But there's so many red stuff around that is more in the shadows and the midtones that maybe we'd be better off color correcting that, but on the same time we will blow out probably this here. So that wouldn't be a good idea. No, we're going to match this to that as close as we can. We're already very close, actually. Luminance 0.95, 0.6. So we could raise it just a tiny bit to get a bit closer there. Well, first we need to set the mid-level that we only target those highlights. How we do that, to find out where this mid-level needs to be, is I slam the gamma down, take the mids and rotate it down, and all of a sudden we, boom, there we go. You saw that? I don't like this viewer in Blender. It's horribly, it's more a hack than a solution in my opinion. You're always shifting it around. So we're getting it up, and those are the highlights over there. Yeah. So okay, let's say there. Yeah, put it there. Everything beyond that, where it just starts to clip there. Everything below that is the midtones that we can tweak. Now we bring back the gamma to 1. And we were actually going to match the highlights. 0.6 would need to be, and we're at around, what is the highlight? In nuke and neutron, you would also select a region and you get an average value. That's a lot easier than here in Blender with just a single pixel, 0.5, just a tiny bit in the gain there. Let's see where we're at now, 0.58. Gain it up just a bit. Gamma it up, no. We went way overboard. We're starting to clip there. 1. .55. This is the better tweaking. 0.6. Yeah. Overall, I think that we may need to go to 0. Something like that in the gamma, because I want the highlights to match that. I would love a region select and have an average We're a bit off, I think. We need to lift it up even further. So 0.58. Yeah, we're close. 0.59. Yeah. So that matches. We also see that the color starts to match then. Righto. Let's do the R match. What is the R value? That is 0.8. And what is our R value? 0.7. So we need to crank it up just a bit. I personally like using curves for this, but you could also use the color correct node. They basically do the same thing, but the tweak here is just a bit easier. So we were at, what was the value in the highlights? We're matching the highlights here. 0.74. So the highlights is the top. I saw 0.4. Yeah, we're there. Yeah. Okay, so that is how you color correct this to that. But I think that the luminance could be a little less bright, or the saturation is a bit too much. The saturation here, saturation is 0.64. What's the saturation here? 0.7. Wow, really? That much? 0.3, 0.38. Okay, yeah. So we need to desaturate just a bit. Go to the saturation, pulling it down. Oh, it's all smidgens. Just tiny bits. Tiny bits. 0.98. Let's try that first. This is a saturation value of 0.6. Oh, what happened there? 0.66. And what is it here? Saturation 0.48. We can go down a little bit more. Saturation. I personally do not agree with that. Saturation 0.5. Saturation 0.5. 0.4. So we need to just tweak it slightly. Now we're in the ballpark. 0.54. Is the saturation, so yeah, what is it here? This is an easy line to 0.5. Look at that. We can split the difference at 0.65. There we go. Yep. Okay, so now the saturation is also matched. And we'll look at it, and it fits in nicely. That is pretty close to that. We may need to tweak the values now just a bit because the saturation is taken out. That is this push-pull with color correction. That is always a bit of a nasty thing. The red now is at 0.75. We need to be at 0.77, 0.78. We needed to be at 0.7, But yeah, that will do. So that basically is tweaking. You can tweak it until your heart's content. You take a value and you start with the luminance, or actually the dark value first, but since this is black, there's not a lot to gain from it. And then you set the luminance and the white values, and then you go per channel and you tweak them with the RGB. And if you're working on the midtones, you're obviously working more in this area or here in the midtones with your gamma and your gain. And if you're working, in this case, we want to match the highlights, then you're working more in this area or here, as you've seen when we set the highlight and the mid tones. Let's do an overview how it looks now. Oh, that is actually pretty nice. Actually, when I look at this, we created a asset that has a lot of where is it? There. Has a lot of brightness in it, and we did that for this screen, this CRT screen. Obviously, we're comping it now on to a LCD screen. LCD screens do not glow as much, so it's a bit weird because we're matching this, but there's so many highlights in there that actually when we mute them, if I were comping, I probably, let's see, if I were comping for this to be an element on an LCD, I would keep it like this. So yes, the highlights aren't perfectly matched in this case, but it fits the scene better. There is this trade-off between science and art. And yes, scientifically, here we're perfectly spot on matching that typical CRT phosphorus screen. Artistically, and knowing that this is an LCD screen, and why would you build it or program it like so, then this would be nicer. But that is up to you to decide. But this is the process that you do to color match in a scientific way and not just by using your eyes. Okay, so in the previous tutorial we were matching this highlight to match the color luminance of these values. In this tutorial we will actually make sure that the hand is composited over top. Where is the hand? There it is. Let's get to that frame. There we go. And the next one is off. There. So we need to mask this out in order to be actually matching. Actually putting this behind my hand. So we need to go to masking. So VFX masking. We open the movie clip and we set the frame to that same frame where we turn off the screen there. And we're going to create a new mask. Hand over screen. Hand over screen. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Now we can use Shift A at circle. That is the quickest way for an organic shape. But I actually want to, mask layer. This is hand. And we're going to add another one, finger. So, and we're going to R rotate. Why is it not rotating? Okay. Right mouse click is dragging it out. That's kind of weird. Instead of rotate, I will just do it like so. Match that up. Pull it in. A, Alt S, and give it a bit of a feather by scaling it out. Okay. We're actually going to set the keyframes automatic as well. And the finger, I also add a circle, which comes in a very weird place, I have to say. But that's what it is. A right mouse click, drag this one there. I want it a bit in a logical place. So. And this roto doesn't need to be exact because there's a lot of motion, quick motion. So we will be forgiven for any roto mistakes. Something like that. We can bring this one in just a bit more. So there we go. That one over there a bit more. Alright, awesome. Finger A. I don't want to select the hand. Finger A. Hey, it's all at the same layer. Bugger. I didn't want that. Can I still... Okay, well, we'll work with that. I usually want to make several layers. Maybe I can actually copy the points. Box select. Oh, now I need to click there. That is still right click. That's kind of weird. Okay, well, we'll keep it at one layer for now. It's actually the process that counts. Then scale, Alt S, scale my finger. Something like that, just a little. And we need to tell them where we're starting. We're starting at 38. And we're done at 43. So that is when the mask will be visible. Going back to 38. Now we go and see what the motion is. First going to move forward. This is the farthest forward movement. So we're grabbing all these and we're going to align them. That way you have as little movement in your splines, which constitutes for a less jittery roto. We're going up, up, up and away, right about there. Okay, that is the tallest motion that we have. Oh. And the finger definitely needs some tweaking. There we go. Put that there. Now we go into the intermediate frames. This one has the biggest motion deviation, so that's what you tweak, and then you get mainly the other ones for free. So let's go in. And that is with good rotoscoping. You have as few keyframes as you actually need. So now if we go and look at the compositor, we mask, and we should have a hand over screen. There we go. And we'll add that with a mix RGB. The vector in there, and so that is our overlay. I need to tweak it just a little. There's still some light leaking through. Let's rotate these around. There we go. There was a little bit of light leakage. Let's go back to the masking. There. Okay. How does it look now? That looks infinitely better. There. And it's over top. And that is how you do the mask over. There's one more thing that I just realized. We didn't show how we could actually switch the radar screen on and off. And that's actually pretty easy. We'll copy the add node, we put it in there, and a multiply makes everything dark. So if we multiply by 0, it is still 0. So that is off, and we can keyframe this vector. It also gives you some control over opacity, basically. So if we render out this frame, let's see what it looks like. Luckily it goes very fast. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, yes. So this is the vector that we want to have. And we do I, and we have a keyframe. We go back one frame. We go full on. Oh, I keyframe this. Oh, I'm moving the keyframes. I don't want to move the keyframes. Just to be sure, I want it also here to be keyframed. Oh, and we'll move that to the beginning of the comp. The beginning of the comp is there. So it remains in as a vector 1, and then bam, there it goes to our predefined value, which I basically like. It's a bit more translucent, and I'm off by one keyframe. Grab and move it backwards. There. Bam. I is still off by one keyframe. Grab. So, and that is how you do that. We're basically controlling the vector with keyframes. So, click, boom. So that is how you switch it on and off. It's very simple. Adding a noise plate. As we have seen, let's render this composite one more time. We matched the colors. We did an add composite. And it looks something like this. Now there's one little problem, and that is that you can see, probably not see with the YouTube compression, but there is all this noise from the camera. And this black plate is, well, it's a digital black plate, so it's completely perfect. And this is one of those subtle things that is the law of diminishing returns. It's very, very tiny, but it does contribute something. And I shot what we call a 50% gray plate. And I will import it here, image sequence. And I will supply it also in the link below. Footage, gray plate, there it is. It's actually from a different camera, but that doesn't matter that much in this case. So it is gray, it has some noise on it, you don't really see it. And you do an overlay. And that is one of those things that, especially when it's brighter, you will pick up on. That there's tiny bits of noise in there that will move around, breaking the blackness up. So that is one way of adding a noise plate. The noise plate needs to be as big as your CG element. It doesn't need to be as big as your screen, and you film it against a 50% gray screen and you expose it to 50%. And those are those tiny little details that will help to blend it even in further. And then I also decided that I wanted the backlight that we see here to be on the LCD screen, just a little thing to tie it together. And that introduced a few problems, because with the additive comp method, it doesn't really matter that you have super straight edges, because everything that isn't completely black, that is from the live footage plate, will show through, because black is 0 and every other pixel, even with a tiny value, will be visible. And now that we had this orange border around, it was razor sharp. So I dropped the whole alpha with the black thing to make a completely black CG element, but I actually decided to take this alpha for now, and then I blurred it with 7 pixels to make the edges nice and soft, and then eventually screen it, because I didn't want to do the alpha over as I explained, because then you would lose all the dirt on the screen, those highlights, they would be gone. And you would need to roto out the screen and then comp that back on top of it. That's a bit of a silly route to go if you can just make it have the solid here and then add it over again. So there's the noise plate that was new. We have the radar on and off on frame 30, 38 and 40. It is off here, and then we turn it on, and actually in our case it's inverted. We go from factor of 0 to 1, from 1 to 0. So that turns on and off the radar. I have all these frames around it that actually explains it. The CC that we went from a completely green screen to a hue shifted version of it with the luminance set correctly to match somewhere here this. And then we matched all the RGB channels to keep the glow in but still matching the highlights. So this is the same color as these letters, and this is technically correct, but since this is an LCD screen and we were making a radar screen for a CRT. A CRT glows, an LCD really doesn't. And no programmer would actually make a radar and fake the glow on there. It has no function really, so I decided to keep that off, and it matches then even tighter with the letters in the clock. But you could switch this on and off. I'll keep it off for now. So that is really what has happened. We have the roto here that pushes the hand over the plate. I had to actually add a extra shape because in this section, one frame even further, 39. This used to be black, so you didn't see it, but now with the backdrop on there, it was actually visible on my fingers. So I went in and put another rotor shape in there, just to clean that out as well. Easy peasy, and that is the whole comp. I hope you learned something from this. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer. And I hope to see you for the next tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and till the next time.